Hi, I'm Gene. After building this shop, I'm already running into issues with like tangled extension cords, outlets being full, drawing too much power, blowing the breaker, and that was with running two 20 amp services out here. So I've got to come up with something that's going to help me to eliminate some of this while I'm working on my projects. Now I know you're going to still need power out here. I mean, even for the lights, the fan, the coffee maker, the refrigerator, all kinds of things that you just can't really get around. Even, the vacuum, and right now I'm also using certain tools that are like my miter saw or even the power planer. Those draw too much to really be able to do battery or cordless. But if I could eliminate a lot of these, that leaves me plenty of room to start really making my life easier. A couple years ago, I actually did a review on Bauer 20-volt cordless tools. Now with the Bauer tools, because they're such a great value, I picked up, of course, the drill driver, the impact wrench, a beast of a grinder, the 7-inch skill saw, which I love. It does a fantastic job. I have really used this crown stapler. And then, of course, a good workhorse is just the orbital sander. And a little blower, which you wouldn't believe how handy this thing is around the shop. And I really liked them, and they've done very well for me. And I have reached a point of buying a lot of them, and they're holding up really well. In fact, for the most part, I used them to build this shop, and everything was cordless building the shop. But in that exception, I needed a framing nailer, and I decided to get a 20-volt framing nailer. Well, Bauer didn't have one, so I stepped over to Craftsman. So with Craftsman, I picked up a 20-volt framing nailer, which made a huge difference for me. And also, compared to using an air compressor and the air tools for it, this really saved me a lot of work. Versus the size of something like this thing, plus you're going to have all the cords, the compressor to keep running. Not only do you have air hoses, but you also have electrical that you're going to have to get out to it. From there, I picked up a belt sander. Now this thing works great. Now granted, I've got a Bauer electric 4-inch belt sander. Now on belt sanders, this almost isn't a fair comparison. This is a 4-inch wide belt sander. This thing is heavy and it's a beast, but it'll do the work. This is a 3-inch cordless Craftsman. It does a great job and will handle 90% of everything I need. Now, when I need the big dog, I do have it. But for most of the jobs, this thing will do a great job. I also picked up their jigsaw and a neat little brad nailer, which I have really used. And then a trim router. And the trim router is really great for 90% of what you need, and it beats dragging around some of these routers that I have with cords in the way, and I don't miss that at all. And I picked up a couple of 4-amp and a couple of 6-amp 20-volt batteries. This should help on battery life. Another thing I picked up was my first cordless table saw. Now this is a Milwaukee. It's got a beast of a battery system, which is the M18 lithium. And at first I was like, how can a cordless hold up? It does. It does really well. I run this thing for hours and never have to change the battery on it. And even if I do have to change the battery, I picked up an aftermarket one that does really well too. Now, one of the tools that I still have that is plugged in is this miter saw. And it's been a nice miter saw. It does the job. And I'm seeing cordless miter saws out there. And I may want to look into doing one of those. At first I thought, no way. But then after seeing what that Milwaukee cordless table saw could do, I think I would be interested in eventually upgrading this as well. There are so many advantages to getting rid of the compressor air tools and using just the, like that 20-volt nailer, or even the crown stapler. I was able to replace the soffits in my house, and just using that 20-volt crown stapler made life so much easier and quieter for my neighbors, instead of having a compressor blaring the whole time. Now, one of the problems that I have run into is the fact that one particular brand of cordless tool doesn't always carry every tool you need. This is what happened to me with the Bauer, which has a lot of great available different tools, including a lot of lawn care tools, but it didn't have anything in the line of framing nailers. So that got me to where I kind of stepped over toward the Craftsman side to start out with a framing nailer, and ended up picking a few more tools. So now I've kind of got several tools in both the Bauer line and the Craftsman line. So that kind of causes this confusion a little bit, but I did find something that really worked for me. I found online a battery adapter that I could adapt a Craftsman battery to a Bauer tool. That makes life a lot easier. Now, I really like this concept, and this basically means I have a plethora of batteries to use. In fact, I may even go back and look and see if I can get an adapter that adapts a Bauer battery to a Craftsman tool. Now, the reason I bring this up is you don't have to worry about having two different brands of tools. Maybe you have a Ryobi and DeWalt. I'm pretty sure you can find an adapter to it. And I'm curious too, and maybe somebody can fill me in out there, do Craftsman and DeWalt batteries work on the same tool? And the reason I say that is because Craftsman and DeWalt are owned by the same company, which is Stanley Black & Decker. So they're all getting kicked out of the same basic factory. So to recap a little bit, the use of being able to use the majority of your tools as cordless makes life so much simpler. And there is savings in this in the long run. You may feel like you're paying a little more for a cordless, decent cordless model, but in the long run, it's going to save you money, time, and even safety of tripping over or power cords, possibly even accidentally cutting them. I've cut a few circular saw cords before by accident. And I've had very, very good luck with both the Bauer brand and the Craftsman brand. I'd be curious to know what brands you guys are using that you're enjoying. Have you had similar situations or problems? I'd really like to know. And if you'll put a comment down in the section below, I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Also, if you'd consider subscribing, and if you want to see, I've done reviews on a lot of these tools from the Bauer to the Craftsman, and I'll put these videos up here. So in the meantime, well, I'll see you soon.